saying something needs to change in our schools. If we cannot make parents required to talk to their kids about this, where's the one other place that kids spend most of their time? And it's in school. So I reached out to all of the state legislators in Illinois. And I told them, we need to talk to kids about this. We teach tornado drills, bus drills, fire drills, stranger danger. And I still have, from 6th grade, my DARE card. And what did DARE teach us? The 8 ways to say no to drugs. But where were the 8 ways on how to get away until today? That message never came. So when I was in junior high and high school, when I was approached with marijuana, alcohol, I knew how to say no and could clearly stand here today and tell you, I have never been put a cigarette in my mouth because I knew the consequences to the law and to my health. But when it came to being abused, the only message I got was from my perpetrators, and that was to stay quiet. So after reaching out and being very, very persuasive of trying to get a legislator to listen to introduce this legislation that would require us to teach kids personal body safety, pre-K to 12th grade. Requiring that we teach kids the areas covered by your swimsuit. If anyone ever touches you there, you don't keep it a secret. You tell somebody and you tell somebody immediately. This is not your fault. You will be believed. And that often this person is doing it to somebody else, and you will save other children by speaking up. Well, I ended up testifying to our state lawmakers over the course of 3 years, 4 times, telling our state lawmakers that we need to educate and protect kids. But in order to go after this law, I had to give up my job. I resigned from my full-time master's level job, my paycheck, to volunteer my time and give back, because I would do anything to protect kids from the nightmare I lived through. As I said, if this law can save one child from being abused, give one kid a voice to speak up and tell the very first time they're abused, instead of being abused for years like I was, it was worth it. And in 2013, Erin's law passed. Here in Illinois, Governor Quinn signed it mandating that in the 2013-2014 school year, every public school in Illinois must teach kids personal body safety, empowering kids to speak up and tell. But the reality is, as I told you, 42 million survivors in America alone. Children are not just being abused here in Illinois. They're being abused around this world. So I made it my mission to get this law passed in all 50 states. I know, sounds crazy. I was told by my state lawmaker in my district, when I first had this vision, he told me, Erin, I agree with you, we need to talk to kids about this. But the reality is you're talking about sexual abuse. We don't talk about that in society. This law will never pass. And I said, it's because of your attitude that nothing changes. And I am determined to change the attitudes of everyone so that we do start talking about it. So that we open up the eyes of society to realize this is going on. We can't keep this a secret any longer. And so I began taking my crusade state to state, testifying to legislators on the importance of educating kids on personal body safety. Never forget getting before legislators here in our home state of Illinois, and the representative that was sponsoring Erin's law turned to me as I'm getting ready to testify in front of all these legislators and said, Erin, see that woman front row, 2 seats in on the left? She's been against school mandates her entire career as a legislator. She'd been in office 16 years, and she was retiring that year. She will be the first person on her microphone to say, I'm against school mandates, do not pass this does not belong in the schools, this belongs in the home. Well, I agree, this does belong in the home, but we cannot leave it up to the parents because, as I said, parents often stop the conversation at stranger danger. So those few parents that I ask in a room full of 400 of them, how many have talked to your kids about personal body safety? I'm lucky if I can get 3 or 4 moms and dads to raise their hand. And they're coming up to me afterwards when I'm doing a book signing and saying, I was abused, I talked to my kids about this. Well, we just don't want the parents that are abused to be talking to their kids about this. So I was prepared to deal with this woman's backlash with my law, not agreeing with it. But in the back of my mind, I was determined to convince her the importance of this law. Well, she was the first person on her microphone. But she didn't sit there and vote against this. She looked at all her colleagues and suddenly began crying and said, Erin's law could have saved me. But like Erin, I was told this is our little secret, no one will believe you, and I was abused for multiple years of my childhood. This representative had no idea that this other representative had been abused. Didn't say abuse across her forehead. This was not something that you talked openly about with your coworkers, with your friends. As I said, we sweep it under the rug, look the other way, when the reality is we all know somebody that this has happened to. We just don't know their name. So she asked all of them, support this law, pass it. And as I began traveling state to state, I ran into this same situation multiple times of legislators coming forward saying, this happened to my wife, this happened to me. A room full of male legislators breaking down and crying and saying, thank you for your courage. I wish I had that courage to speak up and tell. And we're already seeing the results across the country where Erin's law has been passed of kids coming forward and being saved because of it. 2 little kids out of Crystal Lake. There was an article last spring in the paper. 2 little kids coming forward after learning Erin's law in school. Their perpetrator was put away for 40 years. My hometown of Schaumburg, the police department contacted us telling us, Erin, we just had a case of a 12-year-old that had been abused for 4 years by a family member. We asked her, why are you finally speaking up and telling? She said, because we learned Erin's law. And after class, I told my teacher, because I knew I would be believed. Well, think of the millions of kids that aren't yet getting this law. As I told you, I've been taking this law state to state. I've been after it for almost 6 years. Where do things currently stand? Erin's law has now been passed in 26 states. Almost past halfway there, almost to 30 states. And I was told by my own state senator, Erin, you'll never get this law passed. You're talking about sexual abuse. Finally opening up the eyes of legislators to see that this is going on. And what I have told these legislators in life is, I'm not going away. I will pound on your doors until you pass this law. Because the only ones that should be saying no and voting against this law are the perpetrators themselves. Everybody should be for protecting kids and giving them a voice. We give these perpetrators too much power and control in our lives. And going after this law has opened up my eyes to realize it's far more important for me to give back to my community and do all the good that I have done out of the goodness of my heart to protect kids than to sit there and work with a few kids out of the school year and get a paycheck for it. As I say, you feel a lot better about yourselves by going out in the community and making a difference. And I know I am doing that every day by getting before these legislators and testifying, convincing them to pass this law, because I know the importance of how many kids are out there suffering, waiting for a voice. As today is Martin Luther King Day, how he had this dream of a nation that would one day be free. Well, I have this dream of one day getting this law passed in all 50 states. And the message I want to leave you guys with today is, if you have a dream, if you have something you want to achieve, and go out there and accomplish in life, you can do anything as long as you believe in yourself. As long as you believe in your heart that you can accomplish something, that you can do something out there that people may doubt you about. That as long as you believe in yourself, you can make that happen. I don't care how many doubters you may have. When I was a junior in high school, I was struggling academically. I had throughout my childhood. Struggled academically, specifically in math and science. And I was failing my Algebra 2 class, and my math teacher asked me as I stood at the chalkboard, unable to solve the problem, Erin, do you plan to go to college someday? Surprised by our question, I said, yeah. I had known since I was 12 years old I wanted to be a social worker. And the next words out of her mouth had me walking out of her room in tears. Erin, you need to rethink your plans. You'll never get accepted into college. I left her classroom in tears, went to my guidance counselor, withdrew from her class, because there was no way I was going to have somebody teaching me that was doubting me. She was written up, never apologized. My mom reminded me, Erin, you can be successful. You can do whatever you want as long as you believe in yourself. 6 months later, my ACT scores came back. Still, once again, did terrible on those. Guidance counselor sitting there having a conversation with me about college. Erin, college is not for everyone. And you just don't have the grades to go off to college. I think you would even struggle in a community college. There are great things you can do and make great money, like being a waitress. And I remember as she continued to talk, getting so angry. And I finally turned to her and said, sign my pass, I'm going back to class. I said, I'm not going to be a waitress, I'm going to be a social worker, I'm going to get into college, and I'm going to prove you wrong. There was all this doubt. Just because I wasn't that standout student that was on the National Honor Society. But because I believed in myself and knew that I could accomplish anything I put my mind to, 5 years after graduating high school, I had earned my master's degree. Finished my master's degree in 1 year in advanced standing program. But I was the student told by the teacher and guidance counselor that I would never be successful. I was the student and then the adult that was told by my state senator, Erin, you'll never get this law passed. You will come across people throughout your life that may doubt you and tell you, you can't do this, you can't do that. But the reality is, as long as you believe in yourself, you can make anything happen.